Hello everyone. So we looked at some data from the American Time Use Survey and we had our first experience of explaining the data using the theory of comparative advantage to understand why it might be men and women do different things when they decide how to allocate resources between paid and unpaid labor, between housework and wage work. And that theory had a very specific explanation. We're going to come back to that. But before we go any further, I want to talk to us about this guy, Gary Becker. Gary Becker won the Nobel Prize in Economics. For what? For his work on the economics of the household. So while you are used to thinking that economics is just about the markets, as it happens, economics as a field is actually aware that the household matters. In fact, Julie Nelson, a famous feminist economist, award-winning in her own right, once said, if Gary Becker did not exist, we would have to invent him. Kind of like Voltaire said, if God did not exist, we would have to invent him. So, what's it about this guy? So Gary Becker is really interesting. On the one hand, as we're going to find, many of his views and approaches are viewed as right-wing. On the other hand, what does it mean that somebody who's viewed as right-wing is actually winning a Nobel Prize and viewed as a foundational figure in a field on gender economics, women and economics, theory of the household, feminist economics, often things that are viewed as woke and left-wing. So here you are. The origin of a lot of this stuff predates Becker, way predates Becker. But Becker has a very special place in the field because he was a highly traditional economist who decided to take economic theory in other fields, such as comparative advantage, and apply it to the theory of the household. So economics really transformed as a result of Becker, because it was the first time people decided, okay, all these econ theories don't just apply to businesses, to corporations. They also apply to households, to ordinary decision making, to everyday household consumer, child rearing, deciding how large your family will be, deciding whom to marry, deciding whether to get married, LGBTQ. All of that is Becker. He's the first guy who really mathematized systematically. So mathematical, systemic. Remember our themes in this class. Mathematical, systemic, enumerative modeling data. he said, economics is decision science. It should apply to anything, not just corporations, not just firms. Economics, then, is no longer just the study of what firms do, what rich businesses do. Economics is the study of how people decide to choose to use their scarce resources to make decisions about what, how much, and for whom to produce. If we believe that, then it means economics applies to every element of decision making, including households. So Becker's theory of the household was crucial for transforming the field. Whether we agree with his conclusions or not, we need to begin by acknowledging that that was a path-breaking change. It was a change that said, let us study households, let us study women, let us study fertility, let us study all these areas not currently included in the GDP. So Gary Becker, whether you agree with his politics or disagree with them, he totally deserves kudos because he placed something on the map as worthy of study that was not studied before. So he took economic analysis that was available. As we'll see, there is more new economic analysis that we're going to use later on. But in his time, he took the economic analysis that was available, and yes, it does reflect many of the cultural biases of his location. But he asked, so what explains the gender division of labor? So we just saw the data on the gender division of labor. Now we're explaining it. And the first explanation was comparative advantage. This says women are better at some things, men are better at some things. Women are better at caring for the kids, men are better at going out and earning a wage. Specialize, do what you're good at, trade. So the comparative advantage example we went through showed you a couple of things. It isn't absolute advantage. It's just relatively who is better at what. So for example, it could be that both men and women are really good at taking care of the kids, but the men are just a little bit better at wage work. That's comparative advantage. Or it could be both men and women are really smart and they can earn great wages equally in the labor force, but women are a bit better than men at taking care of the kids. Men are just really not that good at taking care of kids, doing housework. That'll also give you a result. So comparative advantage is one example. But as it turns out, Becker used economics to actually give us a lot more than just comparative advantage. So in the next videos, we're going to watch what Becker uses economics to do to come up with some theorems. To get there, we're going to ask you to watch some videos from microeconomics. On the concept of utility, and especially marginal utility and budget constraints. So that's what I want you to do. Think about how Becker is taking microeconomic theory and deciding, at a time when no one was doing this, to apply it to the theory of the household. He's taking economic analysis, microeconomic analysis. So watch those videos, and he's already using the theory of comparative advantage. He's now going to add in theories of utility, marginal utility, and theories of budget constraints and utility maximization to explain what's happening in households. So, watch those videos, then come back.